for... No, it's got a nick on that. So, consecutive boundaries to Salt, and Sussex 8 for no wicket in the first over.
Well, he averages 46 from 5 innings, so it's not too shabby, even if it does include that 137 not out that Adrian's been talking about. Now, if you are to have an area in the Hampshire game which is not quite as good as the other, their bowling generally isn't quite as good as their batting. So getting away to a good start here might not be quite as difficult as you might think sometimes.
Abbott comes in and bowls, and Salt covers up, plays it onto the leg side and takes a comfortable single. Doesn't time that, but picks up a single onto the leg side. Well, that would be music to Sussex fans' ears.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just that it's not, generally, if you look at the team's merits and where they are better than other sides, their batting generally is better than their bowling.
And Sussex sprang a bit of a surprise in the last game. George Garton came in at number 3. Whether that'll happen today, we'll have to see. But for the time being, Sussex, with their established opening partnership, Luke Wright and Phil Salt. The one game that Luke Wright didn't play in was the game against Somerset, a game that Sussex lost on the Duckworth-Lewis method. He had a stomach bug for that game, did Luke, but the other 4 games he's played in, Sussex have won them all. In comes Abbott bowls, Raju drives down the ground, nicely timed shot, to just be careful. There is a throw comes in, they say never run on a misfield. That's just what Sussex did, but they managed to scamper home for the single. And Luke Wright is on his way. Sussex into double figures, 10 without loss in the first over.
Well, this is a really good pitch. I don't think I've seen the ball swing. I don't think I've seen the ball seam. I don't think I've seen the ball do anything so far today.
There's a slip and a third man, backward point, cover, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on. Short fine leg and a deep mid-wicket. As in comes Abbott bowls to Salt, who again drives to the offside. More runs here. It could be 4 more runs from Phil Salt. Punches that one away through extra cover. Beautifully timed by Phil Salt, and he goes to 13. And the Sharks off to a flyer. 14 without loss at the end of that first over. 13 of those to Phil Salt. 1 to Luke Wright. Duckworth-Lewis is showing on the bottom right-hand corner of the scoreboard. At the minute, it doesn't look as if there's going to be any rain. The clouds look relatively high. But Duckworth-Lewis at the end of that over was 6. So,
you want it to rain now, don't you?
I do. Once it gets to 10 overs.
Well, that for me, already that over is indicative of how good that pitch is. Absolutely no movement whatsoever for Abbott. The batsman able to just stand there and hit through the line. It's a bit like an indoor net, really. A lot of those surfaces, those of you that bat in indoor nets will know that those surfaces do absolutely naffle. They come on quite nicely, and you can stand there and hit through the line all day. Don't worry about where it bounces. Just hit through the line.
Interesting with Phil Salt, and you'd have played with players during your career, Kevin. I mean, he's a young batsman. He likes to get on with it. But sometimes the shot selection, and I guess it's difficult, isn't it? You don't want to take away that attacking instinct and go into a shell at the top of the order. By the same token, you don't want to play a rash shot. So at Lord's, for example, short delivery, he should have pulled into the grandstand and he pulled it straight down the throat of deep square leg. And it's just those little errors, and it makes all the difference.
Here's Gareth Berg then from our commentary end, and that's just pushed behind square on the offside. Quick single there. Already there's intent from the Sussex batsman, not just to hit through the line of the ball, but just to push the good balls into gaps and run quickly.
Yeah, that was interesting actually, because Luke Wright played to back, and Luke Wright knew there was a one. I think Phil Salt was a little slow setting off. It was Salt's call to backward point, and there was no danger of a run out. But Luke Wright just gave a little signal there to Phil. Come on, there was a single there.
Yeah. Oh yes, very well judged as well. The Luke Wright experience here is going to be key for Sussex, and of course he's out there in the middle and able to just help the batsman along with him, and the better Sussex's chances are of winning this game. Here's Berg, bowls to Salt down the leg side. That'll be called a wide. Well, this is a tough start from Hampshire, not a bad one from Sussex, even though it's early days. 16 without loss. Remember, 356 is the total that Sussex will need to win this game. Hampshire's 5th highest list day score of all time. They're 355 for 5, and I think it's fair to say that they probably should have scored more. Actually, the last sort of 10 overs or so, which I'll calculate soon, they were on for more than that. It's pushed up to mid, and there is no run. The last 10 overs though took an absolute age to bowl.
Yes, it did take an age to bowl. And actually, Sussex in this 50-over competition, one of Jason Gillespie's pet hates is slow over rates, and Sussex have been leading through their 50 overs in pretty much 3 hours. It's been refreshing, bowling 16 overs an hour, which I think you should be able to do, to be honest.
Yeah.
But not today.
Well, I can give you some timings. As Berg bowls on the line of the leg, and that's turned away behind square on the leg side by Salt. He moves on 14-17 without loss. Tom Alsop was out just after 25-2, and that was in the 41st over. And the innings closed about 50-odd minutes later.
Yeah.
So 9 overs in 50-odd minutes.
Yeah, I suppose there were a few wickets went now, but even so, the over really did slow.
Took ages. Here's Berg again then, this time to Luke Wright. He's got that crouch stance of his. He punches that off the back foot square on the offside, fielded by Brad Taylor, playing his first game in this year's competition. We'll see him bowl his off-spinners at some point, I'm sure.
So Hampshire victory today would pretty much seal their place in the quarter-finals. Only 3 from each group go through. It's a bit confusing, but the winners of the group go into a home semi-final. They miss out. Yeah. They miss out the quarter-finals.
Yeah, I think a win guarantees Hampshire a quarter-final anyway, by the way things look. As that's cut down to third man by Luke Wright off the bowling of Berg, 18 without loss. I mentioned Gareth Berg because Ali Grant is on the Twitter feed, who's Gareth Berg's other half, and she says, and she's tweeted a picture of the little one, the little baby. At Solar Sports, she says, hoping for a good result on Rafe's first birthday. Wow, 1 year. I can't believe he's won. Here's the birthday boy, cricket on in the background. Not smiling because he hates balloons. He's not actually smiling, but it's a nice picture anyway. Let's push to mid-wicket. End of the over. 2 overs gone, 18 without loss, Sussex.
And a good over from Gareth Berg. Just the 4 runs coming off of it. 4 singles. Sussex 18 without loss, as Kevin was saying. Just to keep, I mean, I don't think it is going to rain, certainly not for the time being anyway. Duckworth Lewis is 11, but it won't come into play. Once we've had 10 overs, then we've got a match, whatever happens here.
Yeah, we have. I'm just retweeting, actually, Rafe's picture that Ali Grant took. There you go. So everybody can see Ali and Gareth's 1-year-old.
Oh, happy birthday.
Today. Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it?
So, Kyle Abbott back to his mark at the far end of the ground. Tall man. Luke Wright just says, hold on a minute, while he surveys the field, and he will see the 2 men outside the 30-yard circle are a deep mid-wicket and a third man, as Abbott comes racing in and bowls to Luke Wright, and he's bowled Luke Wright. And it's always a massive wicket whenever Luke Wright is out for Sussex. Will it cut back in to the right-handed rider? I think he was looking to run that one away down towards fine leg. The ball rather followed him, and Luke Wright is on his way, and that's a massive blow for Sussex. He's on his way for 3, and that's a big breakthrough. He takes off his helmet and wanders back to the pavilion. He's been in terrific form with the bat, Luke Wright, but not his day today, and that's a big breakthrough as far as Hampshire are concerned. 18 for 1, and Luke Wright is on his way for 3.
Well, one thing Kyle Abbott does do is take wickets. That's his 15th in this competition already. Now, I did say that not one ball has moved off the seam, but I suspect that has just nipped back a little bit on Luke Wright, just enough to get through. Inside edge, I think, as well onto the stumps, but that's the class of Kyle Abbott. Does get the ball to seam around. I've seen it many times when other people don't.
Well, this is interesting. Sussex experimented at Chelmsford with George Garton, the young left-arm bowler, batting at number 3. And I wonder whether they would do the same today, particularly against a bowler of the quality of Abbott. He batted very well at Chelmsford, by the way, George Garton. He's never batted as high as 3 for Sussex. He made 38. But that experiment is continuing today. So it is going to be young George Garton, who's a left-hander who comes out to bat. But this is a pretty stiff examination against Kyle Abbott.
Yeah, it certainly is. Gosh.
Yeah,
and he made a career best, didn't he?
Yeah, 38.
Yeah,
and batted very well. So I think we're just looking to change the order around. So since Chris Jordan has gone to England, the problem when Jordan isn't around is to fill that all-rounders berth. And at Lords, Sussex went with just the 5 specialist bowlers, which was a bit of a gamble. Laurie Evans had to bowl a couple of overs and actually got his first list day wicket, but decided not to do that in the game at Essex and went in with the additional bowler, and they've done exactly the same there, which you could say leaves the batting a little light, although the fact that Sussex got over the line at Chelmsford shows that Sussex do bat a long way down. But it is a bit of a gamble with George Garton, but he's shown he can play, and Jason Gillespie is a great one for giving young players a chance. So we'll have to see how Garton goes. Left-handed batsman as Abbott comes racing in around the wicket, bowls, and Garton just that one go through to the keeper. An extra yard there from Abbott. He really bent his back then.
Went through nicely.
Yeah, he did. Into the gloves of keeper Alsop. Garton just swayed out of the way. And there is no run. 18 for 1 here on BBC Sussex, BBC Radio Solent, 5 Live Sports Extra. Myself, Adrian Harms, alongside Kevin James. And Abbott turns and is in again. Bowls to George Garton, and Garton gets his first run and plays it confidently enough down to third man. An interesting... the difference a wicket makes, and I'm talking about Duckworth Lewis, but all of a sudden Duckworth Lewis is now 38. Just goes to show, and Sussex are 9 for 1. So
you were gloating after that first over,
but I'm not now. Looking at the weather, it looks all right now, Kevin. Yeah. It does make a huge difference.
Wickets are key, aren't they?
Yeah. Now, which brings Salt, who's 14 not out, to face Abbott, who's in and bowls, and Salt covers up to a ball of good length and just plays that to mid-off, and there is no run. You feel a big responsibility here now on Phil Salt. He's seen Luke Wright get out. He's got himself in. He's got 14. And he'll be talking to himself, making sure he doesn't play a poor shot. Well, clearly, Sussex need to get on with it, because they're going to need to score a 7 and over if they're going to win this match. There's a long way to go. No slip in place now for Salt, which is interesting. 4 men saving 1 on the offside, 3 on the leg. As in comes Abbott and bowls, and Salt again covers up to a ball pitched slightly short of a length and played quietly by Salt to mid-wicket. And again, it's a dot ball. Good over so far from Kyle Abbott, just conceding the 1 run. And the important wicket of Luke Wright, bowled for 3. And it's the 3rd over of the innings.
Looks like Kent are going to beat Surrey in that sort of near basement battle in the South Division. Surrey bowled out for 127, Kent 66 for 1 in the 16th.
Abbott racing in again, bowls to Salt, and Salt adjusted his shot then, took a step down the wicket, played it into the offside, and that's a really good over from Kyle Abbott, who's come back from being hit for 14 in his first over, and to just concede the 1 run in that over. 2 overs, no maidens, 1 for 15, and Luke Wright back in the pavilion for 3.
I said near basement battle. Of course, it is a basement battle in the South Division. Continuing is Adrian Harms, and then alongside him from BBC Radio 5 Live will be Henry.
And when you think particularly with Kent, who were finalists in this competition last year at Lords, and this year it's the last year of the final going to be at Lords, which I personally think is a shame. But I think that your premier one-day competition, the final should be at Lords, but that's not going to happen as of next year, when it's off to Trent Bridge. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And then they'll be sharing it around, I think, is the plan. But it's a little bit like, I suppose, the FA Cup final not being at Wembley, isn't it?
I agree. No, I completely agree. So I'm a bit old school like that, Henry, and I think back to all those famous Gillette Cup finals and NatWest finals down the years. It is a shame it's not going to be at headquarters, though it will be this year. As in comes Gareth Berg, running in, bowls to George Garton, and Garton plays that from the crease to backward point, and there is no run. There's a slip in place for George Garton, 3rd man, backward point, cover mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, short fine leg. The 2 fielders outside of the 30-yard circle are a 3rd man, and a deep square leg. He's just blending in with one of the advertising hoardings. As in comes Berg again and bowls, and Garton again covers up to ball of good length and again plays it to backward point, failed again there by Taylor. And there is no run. Huge wicket, Luke Wright.
Yeah, you sensed he had to have a good day.
Yep.
Really, didn't you? With 356 the target, it said to you, those players walked off after the first innings, right, let's see what Luke Wright can offer and see how much of an energy he can give at the start of the innings.
Berg in again, running away from us, bowls to Garton, and Garton again is forward, and Berg settled into a really good line and length here. Just conceded 4 runs in his opening over, and now 3 dot balls in his 2nd over. But in terms of scoring runs quickly, it puts quite an onus now on Phil Salt as well, who is capable of doing that, and made 137 at Beckenham in the 2nd game of the competition, and Sussex would like a bit of that today. As Berg runs away from us. In and bowls and Garton drives pleasantly through the offside. I think he's going to get a boundary here. I think the fielder at cover got a hand to it. In fact, he's not going to go all the way to the boundary, not quite. Just pulled up about a yard or so inside the boundary by Taylor, but nonetheless, Garton comes back for his third run and goes to force Sussex to 22 for 1.
It's a long journey out there for the ball to get to that rope square on the offside for the left-hander as we look at it, because that pitch that's being used is right across the square to the left-hand side, and so while you get the advantage of the ball racing across that shorn grass across the square, it then hits the patch where it's a little bit longer, and so while you think it's going to be 4, it suddenly slows right up.
In comes Berg, over the wicket bowls to Salt, and Salt plays a model forward defensive shot to mid-on, and there is no run. I was saying to Kevin with Phil Salt, he's a young player who by his instinct is an attacking player, he wants to get on with it, but has been prone in this competition, despite that good hunter, to play the odd rash shot to balls perhaps he doesn't need to play. I'm sure he's very conscious of that today. Yeah, it's a good track. If he can get himself in, you know, he can play that big innings for Sussex. As Berg is in and bowls, and again, Salt with a high left over, just punches the ball down the ground. Berg fields off his own bowling. Good over, though, by Gareth Berg. Just the 3 runs coming off of it. And Sussex, after 4 overs here on BBC Sussex, BBC Radio Solent and 5 Live Sports Extra, are 22 for 1. Phil Salt on 14, George Garton on 4. The man out, Luke Wright, who was bowled by Kyle Abbott for 3.
Well, we've just left 5 Live Sports Extra just that moment ago, so you were almost absolutely spot on. They've just departed for the IPL cricket, but
to warmer climes.
To the IPL, the match between Mumbai and Hyderabad, but we continue online, and just sure it's always worth reminding you that if you are listening to a game online and you see perhaps there's an interesting story developing elsewhere, you can listen to every ball of every game on the BBC Sport website. Here comes Abbott bowling around the wicket and charging in, and it's well defended by the left-handed Garton, who in the long sleeves leans forward and pushes the ball as far as northeast, who's running in from mid-on. And I mentioned the long sleeves, and pretty much every single figure out there, to a man, has the long sleeves, because it's not that warm.
No, it's not. And look, the spectators down here really huddled up in their coats. People with sort of fleeces on and bobble hats. So it's not particularly warm here. And I think it's going to get colder over the weekend as well. Talk of snow, would you believe, in Scotland, Henry? Yeah.
In Scotland?
Yeah.
Not here. Not at the GS Bowl.
No.
That would have been a surprise as we entered May. Here comes Out then, roaring in from the pavilion end, and this is again defended, as this is once more right on the money from the South African fast bowler, who, having got that wicket of Luke Wright in his previous over, will feel full of confidence, and there'll be a real sense that that initiative, having been wrestled away from Sussex after a positive couple of overs to start with, now is the moment for Hampshire almost to win the game, because if you can get through these power play overs in the first 10 with maybe 2 wickets down and not many runs on the board, then it really is a huge mountain for them to climb. There's almost a gully in place not too far from the keeper, as this is coming off the inside edge of the bat and dribbling its way to square leg, and there's a little bit of a misfield, but not enough of a misfield from Fuller to allow them through for anything more than 1, but the score does advance, so it's 23 for 1. Let me quickly bring you up to date with what's happening elsewhere in the Royal London One Day Cup today. If you were wondering, well, Kent heading towards victory in their game against Surrey. They're 72 for 2, needing just another 56 runs to win from 32.1 overs. Surrey all out for 127. And that game between Lancashire and Derbyshire, rain reduced down to 38 overs a side. And Lancashire, well, they've done well. 2-8 for 6 is the score. Here comes Abbott now over the wicket, and this is punched off the back foot, but well stopped in the covers, and there'll be no run. It is remarkable how Surrey's perennial finalists over the last few years, and
I mean, as Kevin, they have had a lot of injuries, haven't they? But even so, they've got a very strong squad. And even looking at their side today, there's a strong side. But of those runs they made, Dean Elgar made 62 of them, not out. So scant contributions elsewhere from the.
Yeah, you look at that side: Stoneman, Burns, Test cricketers. Here comes Abbott. Bowls, and again it's defensively played, a puff of dust from this used pitch as the ball's hammered into it from the toe of the bat, and the score remains 23 for 1. Assault, who looks very composed, looks up at the scoreboard to the left hand side, sees alongside his name 14 runs from 15 deliveries. he'll feel a little bit of responsibility.
Yeah, I think he will. He will. And if Sussex are going to get anywhere near this total, someone is going to need to play a quick innings and an attacking innings. But Kyle Abbott has responded well. That first over going for 14. Since then, he's just conceded 2 runs in 11 deliveries.
Sprints in towards us, and bowls this is whipped off the hip, and it's going to run towards deep backwards square, but it will be picked up. The fielder running around from almost at the groundsman's hut over to the left-hand side as we look at it. It's the end of the over, so 5 overs bowled, and the Sussex Sharks in pursuit of 356, a mammoth total, 24 for 1, with Luke Wright having been dismissed early on in the innings for just 3 bowled by Kyle Abbott. And we're going to see Berg continuing, unsurprisingly, given his parsimonious start.
Well, much as I'd love and stay and commentate on the game, I've got to go and give an update, Henry, to the listeners on BBC Sussex. So I'm going to depart. Let's see whether Phil Salt can lead a Sussex recovery.
Adrian, always a pleasure as you head off to update the listeners. And this is whipped away, and this is hit in front of square, and it's a nicely placed shot, but it has not played with much timing, and it won't reach the ropes as the fielder runs around and picks up in the form of Fuller at deep mid-wicket, and they'll get through for a couple of runs. 27 for 1 is the score. I was wondering who was going to join me. It's a cast of commentators behind me, and it's Emily Windsor who moves in.
We played rock, paper, scissors to see who had the privilege.
The privilege. You say that. I noticed that the others were having to say, go on, someone's going to have to join him. Here comes Berg, roaring in, right arm over, and the left-handed Garton's driving, and that's a nice-looking stroke. It's timed well, it's going to reach the cover boundary, and much-needed runs for Sussex just to give their innings a little bit of impetus. 31 for 1 is the score in the 6th over, and I don't know about you, but it sort of feels that they need a partnership here. They need a partnership that's worth 100, 150 runs just to give themselves a platform here, Sussex.
Yeah, and I think what Hampshire have done well in this competition is getting those early wickets and breakthroughs, and I think you saw Hampshire being 1 down meant that they could capitalise throughout the whole innings, so Sussex need a similar pathway.
And this is defended from the bat of Garton, and it's going to be a dot ball as Berg finds his line.
I also think this power play is really important when you're chasing such a big total. Obviously losing the wicket early has sort of halted them a little bit, but that wicket, they need to get capitalising the remaining 4 overs really.
Well, Luke Wright always is such an important wicket to pick up. Here comes Berg and bowls. This is defended off the inside edge into the leg side. It's fielded by Anaran Donald, who played quite nicely, in fact, at the top of the order for Hampshire in the absence of James Vince. He made 41 from 46 deliveries, but it was those innings from Allsop with 124 and Aidan Markram with 130 that did, has to be said, the bulk of the damage, and some thrilling cricket in there. Some glorious stroke play. Here comes Berg then. Short sleeves, and he's coming into bowl, and this is hammered into the leg side. That'll be 4 through mid-wicket. Good looking stroke. The ball, here it's smashing into the purple advertising hoarding.
Good shot that. It was just length really from Berg, and Garton just sat on the back foot and punished it.
So he's on to 13. It's 35 for 1 for the Sussex Sharks, and this is a useful over. 11 from it with a ball left as Berg turns and sprints in the orange soles of his shoes away from us, and this is felt for outside the off stump, and it's a dot ball to finish the over. Berg takes his jumper and quickly puts that on because it is chilly out there, and cap from the umpire, and the score 35 for 1 after 6 overs. And we will of course keep you up to date with what's happening around the Royal London One Day Cup, and this match has context in the sense that these two are right at the top of the pile really at the Southern Group, and if Hampshire with 5 wins in 6 ahead of this, a win in this game would see them close to securing qualification for the knockout stages of the competition, whereas Sussex, if they were to win, looks a tall order from here, well, they would join them at the top of the table points-wise, Hampshire, and they'd have a game more to play as well. So there's plenty to play for, and these two, undoubtedly, 2 of the standouts in the competition so far.
Both fantastic one-day sides. I think really as well, Hampshire have got a lot of spin options, so I think this sort of middle over period is going to be quite exciting as well. There's potential for Sussex to go hard. But with 4 spinners in this Hampshire side, Sussex will have to do something as Abbott bowls, play a miss outside the off-stump. A shout from the keeper, but not interested from the bowler. And umpire, also not interested.
Well, the umpire just for a moment, didn't he? He did that.
They always flinch at the wrong time.
I know. I think if I was an umpire, I'd get very nervous about any movement after an appeal. But almost you'd get a sort of... You'd be so tempted just to do something just for the fun of it.
Just scratch your nose.
Yeah, scratch your nose, or it tends to be moving the counter from one hand to another quite often.
Abbott at the top of his mark from the pavilion end into Salt. That's a full delivery. That's a fantastic shot through mid-wicket. That will go all the way to the rope for 4, but that beats Liam Dawson in there. And a good cricket shot.
It really was. Just beautifully timed, lent on the ball. It wasn't so much a heave, just a beautiful piece of timing.
39 for 1 now, Sussex. Salt 22 not out after 19 deliveries, so going well so far. You just feel one of these two need to go on and get that big 100. Or both of them.
Yeah. Now, I've got a question about playing earlier in the season for you in just a moment.
Abbott into Salt. That's on the offside this time, fielded at mid-off. Sam Northeast just didn't move there for a minute.
Do you enjoy it when it's cold and you're fielding, or do you just hate being out there when it's that chilly?
When it's that chilly, you just don't want the ball to come to. To be fair, I've invested in hand warmers and they got me through last Saturday. It's when your hands get cold and the balls hit hard at you, you just, as much as you've got to stop it, you don't want to stop it. But it's just finding ways to keep yourself warm. But although these are probably in about 4 jumpers, and there's Abbott into Salt. That's wide outside the off stump. Play a miss. Salt will probably feel like he missed out there.
Some players relish the cold weather because they can see other people suffering and they love it and they think, yeah, I don't mind this.
Probably if you're batting, you prefer it because you tend to be warm. You got all gloves on.
You got the gloves on. You're sprinting up and down and running the quick singles, and that'll keep your heart rate up. But I suppose if you're fielding at fine leg or third man, you're not seeing the ball for a few overs.
And as a batter, if you hit it hard at a fielder that you know has got cold hands, you can think about that inside as Abbott bowls to Salt. That's length and that's nearly taken out the umpire, but there's a man out at deep square. He does the fielding, he'll pick up a single, he'll move on to 23, 40 for 1 the score.
I think that was umpire Debenham that showed a little bit of fleet of foot, and that was quite sharp work actually, because it was careering towards him and it could have...
He didn't hit the ground either. That was impressive.
Yes. Impressive on one hand, disappointing on another, because something about officials in any sport ending up on their backsides is always funny.
It definitely is. As Abbott is now bowling to the left-handed Garton. And that's played back down the pitch to him. Good lengths from Abbott. 40 for 1. And that's the end of the 7th over. 43 overs remain and a big 316 required to win from here.
And you never want to see an umpire hit by the ball. And you look at someone like Bruce Oxenford, who's got that shield that he uses, and umpires nowadays, it's a perilous task, particularly in T20 matches where batsmen are charging and smacking it straight back towards the bowler and umpire. But if an umpire is just trying to sort of jump out the way of a ball on the ground, or a referee in football, it trips over his own laces. It always brings a cheer, doesn't it? It always makes
that added excitement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a bit like hearing your teacher swear. Isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's something out of the ordinary.
Where have you plucked that from?
Here comes Berg, roaring in, and this is whipped away behind square, and it'll be probably a couple of runs. They push hard for it, and they're going to push hard enough because it is Salt running to the danger end, and he was the one that made the call, and he picks up a couple, so moves on to 25. It's 42 for 1. But you know what I mean? Just a little bit of that wasn't meant to happen.
And they get embarrassed, don't they? I think you really are laughing at their embarrassment.
Yeah, maybe that makes us terrible people. Here comes Berg, 13 on his back, and he's charging into bowl. So that's hit hard, and it's actually hit right back towards bowler and umpire, all along the ground though, and Berg does well to get a bit on the ball, and it's the sort of finger-numbing stop where it was hit very hard, and he just tried to flick it onto the stumps, and one of those on a cold day, if you're not warm, you lose all that circulation in your hand, and it's horrid. And it isn't particularly summery. It may be early May, but it doesn't feel much like we're moving into warmer climes. It certainly feels very early season.
I've noticed you've taken your coat off, and I'm slightly questioning that decision.
Because when I went downstairs in the coat, I felt so cold. Here comes Berg, and this is walloped into the offside. That's a really good stop, though. It's a good shot off the back foot, but a tumbling save and a good one as well.
That's Joe Weatherly. I don't know who he's on for, but he's in the squad. So someone must have taken off the field. I'll try and work out who that is.
We'll do some counting up here. Yeah, well, I went downstairs to have a cup of tea and some lunch earlier on, and I was wearing my coat. And then when I came outside, I was so cold. I thought there's only one way to remedy. That's to go full the other way. This is, chipped up in the air as far as mid-off, and there could be a chance of a run out. The throw comes in, and it was not a bad throw. I think that's right. It's Sam Northeast who threw it in, and it could have been trouble for the batsman as he set off, having played an ugly stroke that lifted up towards the fielder at mid-off. In the end, he gets away with it. The score remains at 42 for 1. So to conclude, I was too cold when I got back outside, and so now I'm trying to feel the benefit of the coat. I can almost hear my mother's words in my ears. Here comes Berg and bowls. This is nicely played, straight back, driven. It's going to be, I think, just the one run as Mason Crane runs around and picks up, and it will indeed just be the single. So 43 for 1 with a ball left of this 8th over. Mason Crane, how in sort of Hampshire circles is he seen to be going at the moment? Obviously, he was the next big thing England-wise and got that England call up in the Ashes. Yeah,
he's obviously come back from that injury, and he's been quite expensive since he's come back. And I think he was rested that last game, to be honest with you, not wanting to overdo it.
Here comes Berg, and this is driven straight again, this time from the left-handed Garton. Once again, Crane picks up, but this time at mid-off, and there'll be just a single to finish the over, and 44 for 1 as the sun just threatens to break out. And after 8 overs and a target of 356, Sussex Sharks find themselves at 44 for 1 with 312 to win.
Yeah, I just worked it out as Markram's come back, so it's Markram off the field for Joe Weatherly, who was replaced by Joe Weatherly. So he's back onto the field.
And so the sense is that he's just sort of trying to ease his way back into getting his rhythm, Mason Crane.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the year that he had a fantastic year for Hampshire, as I said earlier on air, was off the back of he had that club year in Australia and went really well out there. And I think him bowling a lot of overs has helped that. So obviously coming back from the injury, he's probably not got mass overs behind his belt, so just need to be patient with him. As Abbott bowls to Garton, that's played into the offside. Will be no run, fielded at point by Brad Taylor. Yeah, so I think just being patient with him, and the more overs he bowls, the better. And you see, as he bowls, you'll see glimpses of the Mason in form. But just unfortunate that injury at the wrong time, really. But I'm sure he'll be back, and if you listen and speak to him, he feels like he's in the best shape he's ever been, and he really wants to get back in that England side, which is fantastic signs.
He's certainly a talent, isn't he?
Abbott approaching from that pavilion end into Garton, the left-hander, played back down the pitch, will be fielded at mid-off, mid-on.
And leg spinners are always exciting. Everyone loves a leg spinner.
And there's more and more of them coming about at Colts cricket now, back at my club, and young county age groups. I see a lot of leg spinners coming through, and I think that's the new off-spin, if that makes sense. More leg spin is being bowled to off-spin, and the ball turning away from the majority of bats as right-handers. I potentially think it's better as Abbott approaches to Garson, and that's played into the offside. They're going for a quick single, that's fielded, a hit, and potentially he was struggling. But good effort in there from Donald at cover. So Garton moves on to 15, 45 for 1 the score.
That would have been quite close. It's probably one of those ones where, with the absence of TV cameras, you wonder if the umpire would have been able to give it, because he wouldn't have necessarily been sure. But it was close, certainly. And one of those Superman throws from Donald, where he dives forward horizontal with the ground and tosses it towards the stumps.
And in this competition so far, Hampshire fielded exceptionally. Had a good couple of run-outs, which I think changes games as Abbott bowls to Salts. That's worked down to third man. That he's hit that quite well, so Mason's got to cut it off. They come back for 2. That's a throw in, and he takes the bails. But I think he was in safe with the dive there, so they do pick up a comfortable 2, or comfortable-ish 2 in the end. 28. Salt moves on to 47 for 1.
I think little doubt that had that been a television game, we would have been going upstairs, because that was a full-length dive, and certainly you could hear on our effects microphone the Hampshire fielders were pretty confident that it was close, but you're a brave umpire to give one like that out. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's one of those touch and goes, and probably actually on the screen it's whether the bat's grounded or not, but he's back safe. Good bit of fielding though by Mason down at deep third man, covering some ground as Abbott approaches into Salt. Tried to do the same, work it down to third man, but can only find cover. 47 for 1.
Well, they have to. That's the pressure that Sussex find. I wouldn't be surprising to see a couple of run-outs in this innings, just because of the necessity for when they're not finding boundaries to keep that scoreboard moving. And such is the vast nature of their target, they have to make those 1s into 2s when possible. So Hampshire, as you mentioned, a couple of good run-outs in the competition so far. They'll fancy they could get another 1 or 2 today.
So 1 ball remains, and then just 3 off the over so far as Abbott approaches to Salt, and he's played that down to third man. They will look for 2 again, but not this time. Mason gets in quickly, good bit of fielding. 48 for 1 the score. That's 9 overs gone.
Yeah, and if one was to look at a typical typical first 10 overs or 9 overs, you'd say 48 for 1. That's pretty good going, really. But you're constantly reminded of just the volume of runs that are needed for victory for Sussex if they are going to pick up another win. But of course, this is a side that won against the odds against Essex a couple of days ago in that match at Chelmsford, having lost a lot of early wickets. They got home and found a way, and it's interesting actually what Jason Gillespie said, the coach of Sussex. He said he decided got out of jail a little bit with that win, and actually it was down to just really clever, sensible cricket towards the end, as opposed to stand-out, remarkable performances. Here comes Berg, then start of a new over, and this is worked into the leg side, and it's to the left of the fielder, who is Wetherall, who's back on. I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, Joe Weatherly. Who's gone off now? Weatherly.
Well, I said Wetherall.
I don't know. He's another county player, though, I think. I don't know where from. That's going to annoy me now.
It's going to annoy me as well.
We'll have to Google.
It's like Ebony Rainford Breton. I'll tell you this in just a moment. Here comes Berg, charging in to Garton, who's whipping the ball down to the 45 and will pick up a single, and the score moves on to 50 for the Sussex Sharks, a couple of balls into this 10th over. Ebony had a real challenge saying Allsop, which I wouldn't say necessarily is a couple of seasons ago when he was just making his name for Hampshire. Tom Allsop, he scored 100 today, of course, and she couldn't not say Aslop. She kept calling him Aslop.
It's all right, I can't really say Russo. It's only taken me 2 years, and he's on our scene. What do you call him? Wetherall.
Yeah.
He's from Adelaide Strikers, so you're in the wrong country.
I'm not just the wrong country. I am so wrong, it's untrue. Here comes Berg, and this is pushed into the offside, and there'll be no runs. It goes to extra cover.
I think we'd rather be in sunny Australia, though.
You're right. Adelaide Strikers, Big Bash player. You're absolutely correct. And what we can safely say is that on the field is Weatherly. In Australia is Wetherall. And here, very confused, is me. Here comes Berg. This is tailing in towards the right-handed Salt, who is nudging up as far as long on, and will pick up a single, and that'll be 51 for 1 for the Sussex Sharks, with a couple of balls left of this 10-over power play. So 3 from the over so far, as Berg turns on his heels, and you can see the wind buffeting across the Ageas Bowl, and certainly that gives a bit of an indication. It's quite breezy out there. Berg comes in again, right arm over, and this is worked into the leg side by Garton. What they're doing well here, Sussex, is, well, Berg's not offering many opportunities for boundaries to be struck. He's bowling a tight line and length, but almost it's tip and run at the moment. It's just nudge the ball, go. And so you find yourself in an over almost going at a runner ball, even if you're not getting the boundaries, and that can be so crucial in a run chase like this. So
yeah, and keep building this partnership. Like you saw Allsop and Donald, they didn't go too hard too early.
Well, this is quite hard, and this is caught at extra cover. I'm afraid that's not a particularly good stroke from Salt, and he's been caught having lofted the ball into the offside. He's made 31, but it's a second wicket to have fallen. Both openers either back in the pavilion or making the long, slow trudge in that direction. And you sense that could be a big moment in this game if the dismissal of Luke Wright was arguably the crucial wicket. Well, certainly Phil Salt and how dangerous he can be, having got in on 31 as well. The catch from Manar and Donald after bowling of Gareth Berg sees the Sussex Sharks at 52 for 2. With that wicket, the conclusion of the 10-over power play. And a few more thoughts from you, Emily, and I'm going to make way for Adrian Harms.
Yeah, I think Salt was probably in the back of his mind thinking about that power play, wanted to get that boundary to push on the score then. And disappointing for Sussex, as partnerships are going to be needed, and top order partnerships, in order for them to chase this total Hampshire have posted.
Hello, Emily.
Hello.
Yeah, disappointing from Phil Salt. It's rather been the story of his of this tournament. He's often got himself in and then rather got himself out, and Sussex would have been, having got himself in, he's the player who they'd been looking to score runs quickly. But it was a bit of a nothing shot, really.
Yeah, he sort of just chipped it straight to the man. Potentially could have gone harder at it to go over.
Well, I think sometimes there's the feeling if you're going to go for the ball, then really go for it. But it was a little, it was a soft dismissal, I think it's fair to say. But Sussex will take heart from the fact of the run chase at Chelmsford in the week when they looked down and out. So there is still plenty of batting to come. The next batsman is Harry Finch. What we do know now is that whatever happens, we're going to get a result in this game, because we've had 10 overs of the Sussex innings. So if we do get some rain, which was forecast, I have to say, at the minute, it doesn't look like rain at all. The clouds are pretty high. There's lots of blue sky, but there's lighter sky around, and certainly doesn't look as if we're imminently going to get any rain. So what will also be annoying for Phil Salt, Emily, is that he got out off that, the final ball at the end of the power play as well, and now we have got a change of bowling. We're going to get some spin as well. So
Liam Dawson's coming into the attack, and I feel like this period you're going to get a lot of spin now. We've got four spinners in the side, and Crane, Dawson, Markram, who's bowled very well in this competition, and then the Brad Taylor, who's come into the side.
And Phil Salt may well have fancied himself against the spinners, but he's not going to get that opportunity now.
So Dawson sets himself from the pavilion end to the left-handed Garton as he approaches and bowls. Has played into the offside, won't be a single, as fielded at third man by Abbott. 52 for 2.
So Sussex still with Laurie Evans, David Visa, Ben Brown, all capable of scoring runs, and indeed Will Beer, who made a very good 75 at Chelmsford on Tuesday. So not all lost for Sussex, but the run rate creeping up all the time, already up to 7.6 and over.
Dawson to Garton. That's down the leg side. They're appealing for a caught behind. The umpire's not given. Must have hit pad, as no wide has also been called.
Yeah, it was a good take, actually, down the leg side.
Tom Allsop with the gloves. He's done well so far in this competition with both the bat and keeping as Dawson approaches. That's straight. That's a play and miss by Garton.
I wonder if that kept a little low, Emily, because George Garton played all around that.
Yeah, Dawson's pushing it across the left-hander as he comes left arm over the wicket to Garton as he bowls. That's worked to mid-wicket. Will be no run.
Well, it's a good start from Liam Dawson, isn't it? 4 dot balls to begin his spell. There are 2 men out on the leg side. There's a long on and a deep mid-wicket just inside. George Garton does decide to get down the wicket and get after Liam Dawson.
Dawson to Garton. He's tried to heave that, and that's a thick inside edge. Will pick up a single. Score move on to 53 for 2. Yeah, Dawson's bowled exceptionally well as well in this competition. Very economical, as well as picking up a few wickets. And I think that the dot ball pressure brings the big shots from the batsman.
Well, interestingly, Emily, Hampshire have got 6 fielders inside the 30-yard circle. At this stage, they only need to have 5. So it's just an indication that they're looking. In fact, now Liam Dawson is talking to Sam Northeast and maybe considering a change in the field for the right-handed Harry Finch. And they're just moving the mid-wicket just a little straighter. But still 6 men inside the circle, so it's attacking field placing from Northeast.
Yeah, I think they're looking to pick up another wicket. If that's played into the offside, will pick up a single. Fuller doesn't pick it up, but Mason gets off, or Brad gets off the boundary quickly, so it's just a single. That's a fantastic over by Dawson, just a 2 off it. 54 for 2 the score. That's 11 overs gone.
Yes, live cricket here on the BBC Sussex, BBC Radio Solent. If you're just joining us, Hampshire making 355 with hundreds for Alsop and Markram. A partnership of 184 for the second wicket between those two really was the basis of the Hampshire innings, and Sussex in a spot of bother in reply, 54 for 2 with Salt and Wright back in the pavilion, right out for 3, and Phil Salt the last man out for 31.
So it'll be a new bowler in Fuller. Potentially one Sussex can look to get after. He hasn't necessarily bowled fantastically in this competition so far.
Yes, right arm over James Fuller. He's got a third man, backward point, cover mid-off, mid-on, a straightish mid-wicket, a deep backward square and a fine leg. And sorry, I missed out the sweeper on the cover boundary. So more orthodox field here with 5 men inside the 30-yard circle as Fuller runs away from us. Coming into, they're on their toes here.
Yeah, they've fielded exceptionally today so far, and also in this competition. That's sort of his position.
Such a key position as well, as Fuller comes in and bowls to Finch, and Finch again plays.
Spread the field a little bit more. He cuts off those ones off that they're trying to hit up to long off very well.
It's of no particular relevance, but Duckworth Lewis at this stage is 101. So it just shows the effect of a couple of wickets have had on the on this Sussex reply. They're currently 54 for 2. 3 dot balls in a row. Harry Finch has only faced the 4 delivery, so he's just getting used to the pace of this pitch, but he'll know as he glances towards this dressing room that as one of the Sis Fuller runs in and bowls, and Harry Finch is back and plays a cover drive, but made 5 at Chelmsford on Tuesday.
How young is Finch?
Harry Finch is 24, I think.
So a lot of years ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely, as indeed with Gartner, who's only beautifully paid. And Harry Finch gets his first boundary, 5 off 6 deliveries, and the Sharks do 58 for 2 here on BBC Sussex, BBC Radio Solent.
Yeah, that was a fantastic cricket shot, and one you like to see. I think on a pitch like this, it's just a good pitch.
Yeah,
the longer you stick around, you're going to get the rewards, and all he's done is stroke that through the gap, and with no real effort.
Fuller runs away from us. He's in again and bowls, and Finch pulls that one down to mid-on. He might feel he rather missed out there. It was a little too short from Fuller, and Harry Finch rehearses the shot. It's the end of the over. I've got to go, Emily, and give an update to the listeners on BBC Sussex with Sussex 58 for 2. Harry Finch on 5. George Garton is on 18.
Short stop there. I have one more over in me, do I, Kev?
If you'd like to.
I can last one more over.
Can you last that long?
And then I can have my coffee.
And warm up. It's cold, isn't it, today?
It's not as breezy, though.
No, just as well.
So an attacking field again by Dawson, who's bowling to the left-handed Garton, who's on 18 off the 26 deliveries. As he approaches, he's gone for a reverse, so appealing for an LBW, and he's given. That was Dawson celebrates there with a fist pump to the air. Score will be 58 for 3. You'd question whether that was needed at this point. Obviously a gap there on the leg side. Played to that. They set the field, set the trap, and got the rewards. Garton is removed for 18. LBW to Liam Dawson.
Another man that could do no wrong. Liam Dawson absolutely having a fantastic tournament, both with the bat and the ball. That's wicket number 14 for the left arm spinner.
Yeah, well, as you just said, he's having a fantastic competition. And for me, that was clever cricket. What they did with the field there, they brought their deep square just in front, had quite a fine leg and left that open to the left-hander. Said you can reverse if you want, and he did and missed, which meant they picked up the wicket. So 58 for 3, long way back here now for Sussex, needing a further 298 to win.
And that's a sign of a side that's on top of its confidence at the moment, isn't it? When you can set plans, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and yet for a plan to work that quickly, you just kind of know, don't you, that things are going well for you.
Yeah, and it was good communication, I think, from bowler and captain. And I just think Hampshire so far in this competition have executed plans well. It's all right having plans, but the ability to go out and execute them, as well as having plan A, plan B and plan C. Are you laughing at how I said execute?
Yeah, you nearly said something else. Execute.
Yeah.
58 for 3. This is a long road back for Sussex here, because they still need another 298. And the required rate, although well, it's about 7, just over 7s, isn't it? All
7.9.
told. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's tough. No Luke Wright, he's already gone for 3. Phil Salt 31, and now Garton for 18.
The new batter is Laurie Evans.
Dangerous customer.
And it looks like a slip's going into place. Sam Northeast putting himself in there. Sort of a second slip as Liam Dawson sets himself and bowls into Evans. That's played into the offside, fielded at extra cover by Mason Crane. 58 for 3.
Top score of 68 in this year's competition.
As Dawson sets himself again, approaches very slowly into the crease and bowls. That's played into the onside, be fielded at mid-wicket. Again, no run. Just a wicket and 2 dots off this over so far. Dawson bowled 1.3 overs, just 2 runs, and picked up a wicket. Dawson approaches again into Evans. That's a leading edge, but only finds mid-on, so again another dot ball.
And Dawson is into his 60th over in this year's competition, and his economy rate is less than 4. Not bad as a spinner.
As Dawson again in and bowls, that finds mid-on, again another dot ball.
There are 3 players nominated, aren't there, for the PCA's April Player of the Month. There are 2 Somerset players in Overton, and one of the Overtons, can't remember which one, and Lewis Gregory, and Liam Dawson is the other. For me, not being biased, Dawson's the main man for April.
In comes Dawson again, and that's played. Extra cover can't cut it off, it'll just be a single. So just a single and a wicket off the over, and the crowd will certainly applaud that. 59 for 3. Evans off the mark on 1 and Finch 5, and I'll leave you in the very capable hands of Kevin.
Thank you very much, Emily. She's back in half an hour's time. Ken Maxted, Southampton Hospital Broadcasting, is with us for a half an hour here. And I think Billy Godleman actually as well is part of that nomination process as well. I think 300s, I think, in succession for Derbyshire in the competition. Welcome for the first time, Ken.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kevin. And good display by Hampshire again, isn't it?
Certainly is. Sussex going to have to play very well indeed to win this one from here. They've won 4 of their 5 games so far, lost to Somerset. They are certainly up against it here against, well, apart from Essex, Hampshire have looked a very good side in this year's competition. Defended the trophy, of course, is James Fuller, and bowls to Laurie Evans. Evans cuts that away down to a third man. He just looked as though he was leaning away from that one. It was in the air as it went down to third man, not totally in control of that shot. Total moves on to 60 for 3.
Yes, as far as Hampshire are concerned, they'll soon be turning their eyes to the next match at Somerset, and the possibility of at least a quarter-final place, and possibly straight into the semi-finals.
Kent look as though they're on course to win their first game in this year's competition. That's Fuller, and that's pushed up to mid-off by Harry Finch, and there's no run. Because at the Oval, Kent are 112 for 2, chasing 1-2-8 for victory against Surrey, so they're well on course there. Heino Kuhn and Matt Renshaw both have a couple of 20s not out there at the crease right now.
The rain's holding off. We had a forecast to suggest it could be here by mid-afternoon, but it still seems to be up in the Thames Valley, making its way south.
I think we're all right. Paul Williams at Solar Sport. Come to that in a moment as Finch pushes that back to the bowl and there's no run. In that vote, Paul Williams says, Dawson has 51% of the vote. So it looks like, I think I'm right in saying until the vote is open until this evening, off the top of my head. It's a PCA vote, that one. So...
well, the Somerset effort is divided in two, isn't it, by virtue of them having two representatives.
Yeah, that's good news, actually. He's having two players from the same county. All their supporters can't make up their mind. That's pulled away by Finch. That's a beautiful shot through mid-wicket. That's 2 bounces for 4. 64 for 3. Mooted
applause, because at the moment I think the crowd are presuming this match is going to proceed to a point where Hampshire win. And it really needed a better start than this from Somerset to keep the crowd warm. The weather certainly not doing that. And not a bad crowd. Looking mainly in dark-coloured clothing, which suggests that it's winter wear again.
Yeah, it certainly is cold, that's for sure. Here's Fuller to Finch once more. Finch drives up to mid-off. Good stop from Sam Northeast. Throws the ball at the keeper's end, which is the far end. And they'll still come through for a single. That is 65 for 3 now, Sussex. On the tweets at Solar Sport, you can get in touch with us still. Bazza says, why isn't Liam Dawson in the World Cup squad for Joe Denley, whose last one-day international was back in 2009? I don't know, but you might remember, regular listeners, when Hampshire played Kent in the first game in this group, that there was a lot of talk between the merits of Liam Dawson and Joe Denley. Bazza's obviously want to keep that going. That's a bit of extra bounce. Well played by... Laurie Evans, but it looked like it hit him almost on the glove. There wasn't really pace down towards third man. Allsop was able to get across from behind the stumps. End of the over. 14 overs gone. Sussex chasing a difficult 356 for victory, are 65 for 3.
Hampshire, of course, who have decided to play 4 spinners in this match, have only bothered to use one of them so far, Dawson, who this season, as you were saying, has been in first-class form, but not just as a spinner. I don't know what his batting average is in this competition.
I can tell you, Ken.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Asked.
It's not bad, is it?
Well, I'll tell you exactly, rather than 46.
Well, there you are. That on top of his economy and wicket-taking as a bowler. So he's coming into bowler again now then. He's just adjusting his field. And it's going to be a question of whether Finch can find a gap. 3 men on the offside, 3 men on the leg side for the single, long off, long on, and that one's played straight back to the bowler. Well pitched up, well fielded. There's a man on the sweeper boundary. It's very symmetrical, this actually, and there's a man on the square leg boundary. So for every player there is on one side, there's the equivalent on the other side. As Dawson round the wicket, slow left arm spin, comes in, a faster ball, played off his pad, a nice looking shot, but it's only going to be a single. As mid-wicket moves round towards the square leg umpire, picks it up and returns to Allsop keeping wicket. The light is pretty good at the moment. The clouds seem to be breaking up rather than getting thicker.
I think we might be all right.
No floodlights on, of course, in this bright condition. All the counties seem to have identical non-white clothing these days. I think we've not seen anybody anything remarkably different, have we, from navy blue with the odd stripe, as both of these teams are. The umpires are only distinguished by having yellow flashes in the shoulder. This is an interesting ball which is ducked into, and I'm not quite sure what he was trying to do with that. They've gone through for 2 runs, and the throw comes in. It's free, and yes, he ducked, and over his shoulder it went, and they went through for 3 runs, and a little bit surprising at this stage off a slow bowler, because it doesn't carry far, and there's both third man and fine leg are pretty well up, so it's a very risky shot, but it's paid off at the moment. as in comes Dawson again. And that's driven down towards long on. There's a fielder there, so they get just a single. And Finch has to make do with that. He goes up to 11 and leaves 5 runs for the other batsman who's still to get his eye in. And that's a shorter ball driven on the offside by Evans. And goes to long off, again to single. There's a tactic with regard to hitting the ball to the deep field in this sort of cricket. When if you hit it too hard and it's gone to the fielder on the boundary, there's only a single. If you can place it wide of the close field and it's got to be fielded slowly on the boundary, then it's 2 runs. That's a good stop by the extra cover at the end of Dawson's over. Gets through it very quickly, of course, and there's no run. And it's 71 for 3, and we've now seen 15 overs, 35 remaining, and under the Duckworth-Lewis scheme, the requirement for Sussex would be approximately double what they've got at the moment.
So 35 overs potentially for Sussex to bat here. It's over, 141, the Duckworth-Lewis total at the moment. It's James Fuller to bowl his 3rd over. Bowling to Laurie Evans. Laurie Evans beaten outside the off stump. Lovely length, lovely line. Evans was just looking to tuck that down to 3rd man. Plays and misses.
That's the temptation when there's no slips in this form of cricket. And any shot down to 3rd man guarantees a single, at least. And the risk is, of course, you just touch it through to the keeper. Although, by the time that got to Allsop, it was pretty low down.
Yeah, it was just dying on him a little bit, wasn't it? I'll be doing an update for silent listeners on all frequencies shortly on the south coast. Here's Fuller once more, running away from us. Right arm, fast medium, has to be said. That's on the line of leg stump and tucked away quietly behind square for a single by Evans, who moves on to 72 for 3 in the 16th.
Dare one say that Fuller seems to be settling into the side now rather better than at the beginning of the season, when his batting looked reasonable, and indeed it is. He's a fast scorer for this sort of cricket, but his bowling was rather expensive, but he's certainly improved on that.
Well, he's bowling a better length. I think he was bowling a little bit too short in the early games, and it was noticeable at the Oval where he pitched it up a little bit fuller and it was helping. There's a full ball on leg stump there, which I think will be called leg byes. Looks like it is just about to be called, and the total will move on to 72 for 3. That update is coming up shortly. Here it comes. Yeah, Hampshire totalling 355 for 5 in their 50 overs. It's their 5th highest ever list day score, and not surprisingly their highest ever against Sussex. That came about through a couple of centuries. One from Tom Allsop, who made 124, his second 100 of the competition, and one from Aidan Markram, who made 130, and those two shared 184 partnership for the second wicket. Now, Sussex, in reply, are currently 74 for 3. We're in the 16th over. Laurie Evans, who's a dangerous player, has just got to the crease. He's 8 not out. Harry Finch is with him on the 12. Sussex still need a mammoth 282 to win this game, but it is a good wicket. But the very dangerous Luke Wright has already gone for 3. Phil Salt went for 31. George Garton went for 18. 1 for Kyle Abbott, 1 for Gareth Berg, and 1 for Liam Dawson, the wicket takers so far. And 74 for 3. Make that 74 for 4 as James Fuller has just taken the wicket. Harry Finch goes caught at deep backward square leg, hooking. He's gone for 12, 74 for 4.
Well, what about that? Just when it looked as if Sussex was settling down a little bit, that was a catch all the way. And is it down there? It is. It's Mason Crane, isn't it, who took that? I thought for a moment it might go over his head, but he took it well above his head. And the Duckworth-Lewis requirement now for Sussex would be galloping up, because each time a wicket falls it goes a little bit higher. So now we see Sussex Sharks 74 for 4 in the 16th over, chasing Hampshire's massive total of 355 for 5. 2 points in this for the winner would take Hampshire up to 12 points, if my memory serves me right. would make them in a comfortable position, but not a definite position for movement through to the semi-final. But pretty certain, I think, it would be for a quarter-final.
I think you're right.
The next batsman due in, according to the scorecard, is David Visa. Does he pronounce his name German-wise, Kevin? Or
Visa.
Visa, he does.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, we're waiting for the new batsman. Mike Clark at Silent Sport. He says, hi, Kev. Hi. I'm enjoying watching the cricket on the live stream. But the info at the bottom isn't updating. Is it that my end or yours? No, well, it's a club feed. So if it's not updating, it is the club problem. It's usually Solent's, but I can't actually claim it to be a problem from a Radio Solent point of view for once. Also, how do I vote for Player of the Month? I believe, Mike, it's a PCA vote, Professional Cricketers Association. I think if you go on their website, then you can vote via there. They call it sort of the most valuable player. And I saw a tweet a little while ago saying about the players that were nominated. So just go to the Professional Cricket Association website, Mike. If you can't, tweet me back and I'll have a look for you while I'm off commentary, which is in about 15-minute time or so. So thank you for that.
So David Visa, spelt W-I-E-S-E, comes from South Africa and played for several first-class counties down there, international 20-over matches and limited over matches, and is in Sussex on a Colpack registration, which means that he doesn't have to count as a overseas player in terms of the qualification that limits the number in a county side. Hampshire, using that particular, I won't say a loophole, shortcut if you like, in the system, have had plenty of success with that.
So his fuller to David Visa then, the South African, as that's short and that's pulled away. He already has 100 to his name in this competition, so he can certainly play and will certainly, while he's out in the middle, give Sussex every chance of winning this game. That's at the end of the over. Fuller has bowled 3 overs, 1 for 13, confirming his improvement, as Ken Maxted says, in this competition as we work our way through the group stages of this Royal London One Day Cup competition.
We ought to add that Dawson, 3 overs, 1 for 9, maintaining his economic record, which I say record, it's a very good performance. I don't know what the record will be, but he's bowled consistently throughout this season and has batted well as well. And like Kevin, I think, again, trying not to be biased, he deserves to have the Player of the Month award.
Yeah. So
left arm round the wicket then, and again, 3 fielders on the offside, 3 on the leg side, as Visa is just waiting to make an adjustment to the man on the square leg boundary. Dawson moves him about 6 feet to his left, very precise, comes in now, bowls to Visa. Visa plays that back down the wicket along the ground. Dawson almost has to wait for it, bends and picks it up himself, walks back with a sprightly stride as if he's a man who's got his confidence at a high level at the moment. He comes in again, round the wicket, bowls to Visa. Visa plays that one to mid-wicket, moving smartly round towards a short mid-on. Just no run.
Just to say, I've just gone on the Professional Cricket Association website and you can't miss it because it's on their front page. Vote for April's Player of the Month.
Dawson again comes in, almost see a smile on his face. That's edged down to backward point along the ground, and it's no problem for Fuller to stop that and return it via extra cover to the bowler. Gets through his overs again very quickly. Comes in again, and that one's played down to long on. They're going to trot through for a single there as the throw comes in. It wasn't played too hard, so they could literally trot through without any need to hurry. Scoreboard goes up now to 76 for 4. No significant change in the field, except that the closer fielders inside the 30-yard circle have come into about 25 yards of their own choice. It's not a requirement of the game as Dawson comes in again, and that's played off the back foot. A nice looking shot through the offside, beats short extra cover. It's well fielded there on the deep boundary. Dawson, Crane rather, had to run round the boundary to get to that, and Evans has to be content with 2 runs, and that causes extra cover, or causes Dawson or even the captain, to send extra cover back to backward point, and backward point's Fuller moves round to short, wideish third man. This ball's well pitched up. It's sent back towards Dawson. It's half stopped. It goes out along the ground very slowly on the leg side, and they get a single. The umpire had to get out of the way a little bit as that came flying back through the air towards him. And that's the end of another Dawson over. And it's 79 for 4 now. Visa on 2, Evans is on 11, and Dawson 4 overs, 1 for 13. And the deficit is still 277. Matches have been won with scores no bigger than 277 in this competition. So Hampshire are being pretty happy with themselves, Kevin.
Yep, they're in the ascendancy, that's for sure at the moment. It's going to require a mighty fine effort from these Sussex batsmen from here on in.
Certainly keep us entertained, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I said David Visa's always got 100 in this competition. He hasn't. He got 92 not out. Apologies for that, in case those of you are saying, no, he hasn't. It's up full of bowls, and that's just nipped back a fraction off a decent length to Laurie Evans, who works that towards mid-wicket, and there is no run.
Bounced a little bit more than he expected as well, I think. That hit him fairly high up on the bat.
Visa's 92 not out was in the win over Surrey in the first game down at Hove. So Fuller.
Surrey having a poor season in this competition, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just about to lose to Kent. I'll give you an update on that one in a moment. Kent were closing in on a very small victory target there as Evans cuts that away behind square on the offside. He's got enough power on that for 4. There is a backward point, Brad Taylor. There is a third man. It's bisected them both. And Sussex move on to, it says 83 for 4, I presume that still is.
Bit short of a length, that one, but a bit straight for the shot that he played. He managed to lean back to make room for it and managed to keep it down, and in fact it looked a pretty good shot in the end and beat the fielders quite easily.
Yeah, and Kent have won by 8 wickets in the other South Group game going on this afternoon. The South Group's 2 bottom sides, as that's pushed to backward point. Brad Taylor comes round but has a bit too much to do, so that's another single. 84 for 4, chasing 127 to win. Kent 131 for 2 in the 28th of their 50 overs.
Where's that one played, Kevin?
That was at the Oval.
That's a poor score for the Oval, isn't it?
Yeah,
Surrey still got batsmen there.
Well, there was nothing on that game. Both those sides
True.
were bottom and second from bottom of the group. Amazing for Kent. Because, of course, they played in the final last year, so they've had a fall from grace in this year's competition. That's their first win of the competition. Here's Fuller, it's down the leg side. There's going to be a wide. And the total will move on to, is it 1 for a wide or 2? I can never remember.
Nor can I, but it says
85.
85 for 4, yeah.
I am hopeless. After all these years, 20 years in the game and almost 20 years commentating, I still don't know the rules.
But don't they chop and change them enough to make it confusing?
That's my only get out, really, that I can say, do you know what, they change it every other year, so I can't keep up with it.
And do you ever get sent by anybody all the detailed rules?
I used to as a player. But otherwise I'd have to look them up myself. That's a pleasant drive by Visa to extra cover, and there is no run. No, I mean, otherwise I have to pore through reams and reams of regulations on the ECP website.